Hey, you guys. I, lately have made these videos on these new epiphanies I'm having on eschatology. And and I just posted a video that I was going to go over a subject that they're going over too, but then they also started talking about the AI and Jet GPT, and I have been thinking about this lately. So, I posted the video and she's right. I agree with her. And because I got that idea off watching probably not the latest Rubin Report video, but it was a prior one, and I was commenting a lot, and then my comments were going on to my own posts, so I had to delete them all. But anyway, I was commenting how you know not that, I mean, I guess he's kind of defending all of us channels, not me, but these content channels that are trying to get the truth out. I don't know if it's called defending necessarily, but it's kind of like it's just reaching a stalemate or a plateau, kind of like how much more can we be defending all this and exposing. And I was commenting, but I had to delete them because they were going on the wrong. Um, but I was thinking, because he made a comment like an explanation that the government is using the complaints to make it political or something like that. Um, and I thought, well, we should do the same thing. So if they are complaining about certain things and that they're blaming whatever they're blaming, whether it's Israel or racism with Muslims and any of that, then we should take their exact complaints and turn them on themselves. Like, say, like, their complaint would be, we can't afford housing because of, well, they turn it on us and a president or whatever they're turning it on. We can just turn it back on. Oh, it's the Muslims. They don't contribute anything except for tear down our government and take our offices, or they'll take our welfare, or they'll take, what are they contributing? So turn it back on they're being taught to love the Muslim, and it's the Muslim, the Islam, that's taking it all. But yet, then they're tricked into supporting the Islam, which is exactly who. And then they're taught to hate Israel and Israel. And then he was saying on his show, he had a guest, um, and they were talking something about a chat GBT um, debunked something right in front of one of these leftists, and they were shocked. They were like, wow, because everybody believes whatever it is, chat GBT. And not just that they believe that chat GBT, but it was a truth, it was fact, and they didn't know it. And it was just seemed so easy to let chat GBT debunk it. And I was thinking, you guys just ought to have chat GBT on your show all the time and ask it questions all the time, or have it debunk stuff all the time on your show, and do the other thing, which is use their same arguments but against them. And then I saw this video, and it's actually probably kind of old. Bob, no, my cat is sitting here and he's so jealous. So, and now I see this video, and I haven't seen it all. They're about to go into it, but they started mentioning the AI and chat GPT. So I I'm doing this, you know, like I said, the Bible study type stuff, and it's pretty difficult. Um, Even though I listen to it over and over and over and over and over, and you know, my memory thing is going haywire. I even bought some memory pills, and maybe it'll take a month to kick in. I'm going to see if they work. But I mean, I can, like, even in my video that day, I read the verse. It said, split the mountain, make a valley. I had just read that. And then, right after I read it, I said, but he didn't say valley, not yet, or something like that. And then I continue reading, and he did mention the valley again, thank God. And I go, oh, well, yeah, it is a valley. It's like, hello, are you that bad? Are you that far gone? So, yes, I, to memorize and remember the stuff I've already known for years and reading for years, but sometimes that stuff's not even coming up anymore. So, um, why was I saying all that? But I am, so I, it's very hard. It's very hard. If even if I had a computer software with the Bible, I forgot the names of them, but they have them where they'll highlight, and then they have King James version and whatever version you want, and it's called Egos or something like that. Um, Logos. So even if you had that, to put all the scriptures together with Daniel, Ezekiel, Joel, Zechariah, Isaiah, so many. And I made a post just now, not too long ago, about all the times, like 108 times, that in that day. So, anyway, what I'm saying is, out of all the eschatology, there's pre trib, mid trib, post trib, then there's other things that are eschatology that they branch off into, okay? The way I'm seeing it now, no one has ever taught it this way. But see, I can't put it, I think it makes total sense to me. And I think it is how it's going to go down. Um, like I said in my other video. So the thing though is that I don't have computer software. I don't even have a computer. I don't have logos. I don't have anything. Even if I did, I'd have to learn how to use it, first of all. Second of all, that doesn't put anything together for you. You're still doing it yourself. So I was thinking a few days ago how, um, remember when a few years ago they were worried about all the college kids were having AI write their papers, and then you know uh I guess, because I just looked it up, I guess also Chat GPT does stuff like that too. So I thought to myself, why hasn't anyone done this yet? Because they have AI sermons. Now, I looked that up, and they said that they do have to be like proofread or kind of like tweaked by a pastor. They don't just like design them. The Chat GPT and the AI don't just design them and then they just throw them up there. They have to kind of proofread them a little bit. I was looking it up because I know they do these commercials, like those wonderful commercials about Pratt, Pratt in California. Um, I knew they could do stuff like that. So I'm not interested in the imaging. I'm interested in the content, just like a mathematical problem. Mathematicians, you get a mathematician to figure it out, or maybe the AI now can do it. But this is sort of like an eschatology thing where, and I know AI knows the whole Bible. You can ask it for any version you want. So, Angel, you're so hairy. My gosh, you just get near me and I feel hair all over my face. Sorry, Angel. So, she used to love being brushed. Now she hates it. So, anyway, I don't know why anyone hasn't done this yet, where pre-trib, mid-trib, post-trib, why couldn't they get AI to write a paper, do a video? You know, AI does videos, these near-death experience videos. You don't even know. They don't have the face, but they'll have, little pictures and somebody speaking a near-death experience, and they're fake. They're made up. Okay? So if AI already knows the whole Bible, and I don't know how these kids write these papers for college, but if you do even have to put some input into the AI, like, what do you want to know? You would say, okay, I don't know how it works. I'm just guessing. Like, say, what if you were to say, okay, AI, pull up the Bible in King James? She pulls it up. Then you say, okay, take all the prophecies in the Bible, King James, that haven't happened yet. And you could probably tell her a few books of the Bible, like the obvious ones: Revelation, Daniel, Ezekiel, Jeremiah, probably Deuteronomy, Zechariah, all of them, Zephaniah, Micah, Amos, all of them. And say things like, in that day, and why couldn't they have translated it all like a mathematician would solve a problem? This is kind of like a mathematical problem, but not in the math sense. So you could do that the same way with AI or Chat GPT that writes a paper or makes a video, audio of it. You could say, translate all these prophecies. How you could say, this is what I would want to do. I would want to know what AI, how they calculate this, we'll call it a math equation. But it's not, I'm just comparing it to that because I don't know the word for it. So you could tell AI, ask it, say, I'm asking you about these. You do all the research, AI, and give me your analysis and your equation on pre-trib, post-trib, mid-trib, or none of the above. Is it something else? Like my translation, for example, I would want to know, I see it clearly, but I don't have the Bible downloaded by heart, okay? I'm not a computer. If I were, that would be wonderful. And I could be like, oh, that verse and that, oh, and then it calculates all together. And I would be, but I can see it just by the few verses I know that I don't even know. I just know that they exist. I know, like I said, they like Revelation, some of those portions, like there's seals, trumpets, bowls, vials, and some other things, like other things. What are they? Is that it? I think some of those can transpose on top of each other, like I was saying. Um, and then you have Joel 2 matches Revelation 6:16. You have where the mountains fleeing and they say, let the mountains fall on us. AI could put all those matchy verses together. They could, and then when you're going into having AI translate or equate pre-trib, mid-trib, post-trib, she's going to be like, probably like, that doesn't, how is she then going to fit in all the others, like Ezekiel 38? Is she going to fit in Isaiah 17? Is she going to fit in Jeremiah 49? How is she going to fit those in? to pre-trib, mid-trib, or post-trib. See, none of those three have ever they've never equated those into mid, post, or pre-trib. Nobody has. Nobody has ever put those, Ezekiel 38, into the equation. They barely even put the Sermon on the Mount in the equation of Daniel, Revelation and whatever all they combine. They can't even put that in the equation. Post-tribbers will. Is that the one, Sermon on the Mount, where Jesus is saying, run to the mountains, beware of false Christs and stuff? Post-tribbers will, but pre-tribbers won't. So why haven't these Christians put all this in AI and see how AI equates it, and then AI could say that's not equatable pre-trib. Mid-trib isn't equatable. Post-trib is, because the way I see it, the way I think it is going to happen, which is none of those three, I know AI would be able to equate them all together. Because Isaiah, if you do it like the way I'm thinking, Isaiah makes a lot more sense. Now, I don't know Isaiah by heart, but I know there's a lot of crazy scripture that no pastor goes over. No pastor will ever touch that book unless it's a church that does the verse by verse by verse, which is the Calvary Baptist or Calvary Baptist Church. Some of these churches, they will just go verse by verse. They won't do sermons. They'll do a little interjecting, and they'll do some sermonetting on it, but explaining on it, expounding upon it, something like that. But they won't even do like hermeneutics on it. They won't do what's the other one? They don't even do hermeneutics on some of those, on all those verses. So I mean, that what's it good to read the Bible if you don't even know hermeneutically? I guess sometimes they'll do historically, but anyway, I just wonder, why doesn't somebody do that? Why don't they do that? Why don't they have AI calculate the equation of all three of those? Then I even asked, like, do you hire, well, of course I guess you hire people to do the AI content, because those Pratt commercials were AI. And yeah, the Rubin said that he's contacted the guy, he's brilliant, he created those commercials. Well, I don't know if some Christians already know how to do this stuff, but somebody should hire an AI creator who can know what questions to ask you to input into the AI to write it all out. Like I just say write it all out, but of course we would want a video on it, an audio. But like how they'll write out a sermon, write out a college paper, but yet the sermon is on a video. So, like I said, it's just similar to a mathematical equation, but it's not, but I don't know the term, but it is definitely a puzzle. And AI knows everything, how to calculate things. So all it would take is for somebody to input it into AI, and AI would calculate it all from all the verses in like a second or two, I'm sure. I mean, we Google stuff all the time, all day long. And like, it's there, the answer. Like I Googled today, I'm like, how many times in the Bible does it say in that day? Bam. Like 2 seconds later, 108. That happens all the time. And if your internet is fast, it's even quicker. So why can't AI? It already knows the whole Bible. It knows everything on earth that there is to know. It's AI. So it already knows all the versions of the Bible. It knows the whole Bible. And you would just need to program it or whatever you do with it. And you ask it, you say, calculate how mid-trib works, how it can be proven correct. Now you do mid-trib, or I mean post-trib. Now you do pre-trib. And then maybe she's smart enough to say, none of those work, sir, ma'am, madam, but, and then you can say, well, how do you say it works? And maybe she'll do like how I think it works, because I don't know what wouldn't be the name for that. But I would definitely challenge AI to see what it would come up with in calculating, which is it's not calculating, but you know what I mean? Interpreting it all, putting it all together simultaneously, all the matching, all the sequences, all the everything. I hope you know what I'm trying to say. But I don't know why no one has done that yet. We're just always trying to figure it out ourselves from reading it, from remembering and then piecing this and piecing that. And plus what we've learned through the centuries, because pre-trib has been taught since Jesus ascended, because the angels told those disciples, it says, why you men stand here gazing at this? He's coming exactly the same way as that. And in their minds, they're like, wow, he's going to come back soon, because that's what they're taught even before Jesus came. They've been looking for Jesus to come before he even came. And when he came, it was too late, because God had already closed their eyes and ears way back in Isaiah. And they will be closed until the fullness of the Gentiles. And then, like there's those verses that until the fullness of the Gentiles, well, fullness of the Gentiles isn't going to be until the very end of the trib or something. So the Jews aren't going to see Christ until the very end. That's ridiculous. That's ridiculous. It makes more sense this way, the way I've been explaining it, and Nathan saw it all. And that mountain splits open and Jesus is just hanging out with everybody. And then like in Revelation, where does everyone get the fact that there's going to be a famine just because they say the scales? And she says, something of barley for a penny and 3 things of wheat for a penny, but do not hurt the oil and the wine. A penny sounds really cheap to me. But now the fact that it says, do not hurt the oil and the wine. What does that represent? It represents that in the Mount of Olives, in the valley, Jesus is the anointing oil, so do not hurt that. And do not hurt the vine, the grapes of wrath. He is going to tread the wine press at the very end. No one does it but him. Remember in Isaiah, he says, I do it alone. I tread the press alone. And even that plateau thing is around that grape press, the grape press. Whoops. So there's something going on there, and I just wonder if AI can figure out a math equation that no one has been able to figure out for 80 years. And The new Grok actually figured that mathematical problem out. 80 years. No one knew it. Think of all the Tesla stuff that's classified, a lot of it, but Grok could figure all that out. She could. I'm not talking about Elon Musk Tesla. I'm talking about the brilliant uh, brainiac Tesla. Um, I don't know if their stuff, his stuff, was figured out, and that's why they classified it, or because it was crazy or dangerous, and some of it isn't. And they figured that only they, meaning like the stuff they figured out, they didn't hide. Um, anyway, I just think that somebody should have done that by now with all this Grok, AI, papers being written, sermons being written, fake content being written, fake near-death experiences being written, lots of made-up stuff, and lots of true things. And Grok can figure stuff out that, and for instead of us constantly bickering, or if we're not bickering or arguing, which we're not really anymore, I guess, but we just leave each other alone. Wouldn't it be nice to like have it proven? It's like a math equation, and Grok and AI know all the Bible. They have all the Bible downloaded. They can interpret all that. They can piece it all together, the whole puzzle. And I bet it's going to be just like Zechariah 14 with all the other Bible verses and prophecies expounding on that, including Revelation. Even though I know that the boy Nathan said 2 weeks later the resurrection will happen, yet in First Thessalonians it says the resurrection happens first, and that it all happens in the twinkling of an eye. But he's a new person. Now, he might have known that from being up there in heaven, but still, that is kind of a minor thing. That's not a heretical thing that, oh, they say that 2 weeks then, that's heresy. It's not the case. It's not the case. So, but everything he says was already, I hadn't seen it in years. And it took me a couple or three times. I had already been doing the Genesis and the crazy thinking of the hell being thrown into the lake of fire. Remember when I was doing the videos on, I think that some of us might be going to hell to get things burned off, like First Corinthians, it says your house will be burned down if it's wood, hay, stubble, and only you yourself is going to survive. Yet the talent parable, if you bury it, it says he's going to take the talent, give it to the other person, and even what you had before you were even given the talent, which is nothing, when Jesus takes that talent away, he's going to lose even what he had before he got the talent, which means you're losing your whole life. There ain't even no burning off. At least in First Corinthians, if you built your house out of wood, hay, stubble, that can get all burned off in hell. Then you're saved at least your life by the skin of your teeth, they call it, by the seat of your pants. At least your soul is eternally saved. But in that parable, the way I interpret it is he is going to lose even what he had on top of the talent. You can go read it again. So why was I saying that? Oh, because I had already gone over the Revelation. I was already talking about the Isaiah 11 and how I think the Jews are going to be hidden away. And I was already talking about the Garden of Eden stuff. And when I saw that video a few years ago, 4 years ago, I I wasn't thinking any of this stuff. I barely understood that video. And then, but after I was doing all my retranslating and interpreting, then he comes along and I'm like, wow, that is exactly what. But still, I wasn't catching things. So I watched it again. Then I caught another thing. Then I watched it the third time or the fourth. I caught everything now. And to me, that is it. That is exactly it. And all the other prophecies, including Revelation and the Gospels on the Mount of Olives, all tie in and would expound upon the Ezekiel, or I mean the Zechariah 14, except now we just need AI to place other odd things, like when the Egyptians and the Assyrians are going to, like Isaiah 19:25, when does that fit in? Things like, what was the other one? Well, whatever. There's several that are like Isaiah 19:25. And then like in Joel 2, where that army is coming up the wall. That sounds like Revelation, where he opens the pit and they're all coming out. But see, there's some timeline. Okay, so if Zechariah 14 is the core thing, all the other things are just ornaments. Not ornaments literally, but they're little inserts, because say like Joel wasn't as descriptive as something in Revelation. Maybe, what was the other one I mentioned that was Revelation? Okay, maybe that was Joel. So some of these prophets aren't as descriptive, but they're kind of saying what Revelation is saying in a more descriptive way. So you can take Zechariah 14 and then the other verses embellish, but you have to put them in the right slot in the timeline, because you can't have, oh, the Egyptians are all getting destroyed, and oh, but now they're crossing the river on over to here and they're redeemed. No. Well, but actually, I think that does happen at first. He destroys all the evil ones, and then the ones that are good, they come up from year to year. They come up from year to year. And even some of them are still bad, because it says if they rebel and they don't come up, it won't rain. And remember, those two witnesses are going to be able to hold back rain. Yeah. And they breathe fire. And if Jerusalem is surrounded and those two witnesses are also there, that means Jerusalem is surrounded. They're going to try to kill everybody and themselves. And they're going to try to kill those two witnesses. They're just going to be breathing out fire. That's why those melting people happened. So anyway, I think Zechariah 14, or and then Zechariah mentions the two witnesses in chapter 4. But somebody else embellishes on the two witnesses, like in Revelation. It's more descriptive. So I'm just thinking it all revolves around Zechariah 14, but the other verses are possibly less descriptive. Other verses are more descriptive, but they all go together, and it all makes the picture of the end time. But I think that Zechariah 14 proves that Ezekiel 38 happens, kicks it all off, happens first, and it kicks it all off. So when Ezekiel happens, the whole world is going to see. How is the whole world going to see? Even in Revelation, it says the whole world is going to see. The witness is dead. Satellite wasn't invented back then when everybody was reading that. Okay, well, Same thing when Jerusalem is surrounded. They've got to break through all of the, I've already said all this, security. They're the most heightened security they've ever been. How's the nation's going to surround them right now? It is a miraculous supernatural thing. It's going to be a miracle that God alone is going to draw them in. So somehow something happens. So the whole world is going to see it. That's when everybody's going to be heads up, high alert, and you're either in or you're out. Because Jesus will be coming, cracking that mountain open, and his angels are going to rapture the Christian Gentiles, and his Jews will be running, and whatever, however they get there too, they will get raptured with angels. And we already knew that the rapture, Jesus doesn't come down, he's up in the clouds. The angels came down. We already knew that. His angels, his angel armies, come down and get us and bring us to him. So what's the difference? They're going to come get us and bring us to the valley or the Garden of Eden, but the boy says it's a different kind of, the way I was saying it. So anyway, I just think it's going to be more fun to read and find out where they might fit, but it is a little overwhelming. It's a little overwhelming because I can't even get past Joel and Zechariah right now. I did a little of Amos one day and I found a few verses and I'm like, oh no, I'm going to have to read that forever now. But like I said, before I started watching him again, I said you can open any minor prophet, major prophet, and it all makes sense when you subtract the millennium, subtract the New Jerusalem, City of Lights, subtract eternity, subtract the rapture, meaning not subtract it and delete it and void it. I just mean put it aside for a moment. Look at the picture that's being presented to you in the Bible. Figure that out. Then you can, in the back of your mind, be thinking, does the rapture maybe fit here? No. Okay, well, let's put that aside again for a moment and just read the text as it reads. Don't try to, put a square peg in a round hole. Just read it as it reads, as a prophecy, and as it is. And then you have a few things in the back of your mind, like the rapture. Like in my case, it's this Garden of Eden being hidden away. So, yeah, all right, well, maybe this makes sense, and it really doesn't matter if it makes sense to anybody, because if anybody put it into AI, she's going to be the one that interprets it all, and all of us could be wrong. I just don't know why somebody hasn't done that by now. She knows everything, right? She has all the data of everything ever done, said, written, or doctor, lawyer, whatever. All information is there. So the Bible is there. And she knows how to do surgery. She knows how to make a vaccine. She knows how to probably do, because she's scientific, she's got all the science loaded down into her. So she can then calculate all that like a mathematical equation. She can calculate all this and make the puzzle fit, because it will be an equation that she can figure out. And I wish somebody would do that. It would debunk a lot of stuff that maybe, okay, what I'm saying is, I know the rapture has been taught since the beginning. They all try to say, oh, that's a Darby thing. No, I've shown that video. I've shared it. I'll share it again on this video. It has been going on and being taught since Jesus left. They've been looking for him to come since he ascended. Before he even was born and came to earth, they were looking for him. we will always be looking for him, and God made it this way. And he probably wanted, if we've interpreted all this wrong all these centuries, it's only because, like I shared the verse, Jesus closed their understanding to understand the scriptures. And even in Daniel, it says, close the book for now until the end times. Open the book in the end times to we can understand it. So if we had not interpreted it the way we have been interpreting it all these centuries, we wouldn't have been watching in the way we always have, which is how God wanted it. So he wanted our eyes and ears closed and our understanding closed. Because if we had known it the right way, if this is the right way, then we would have been saying things like, well, Elam gets along with Israel right now. So how can Iran, go against Israel in Ezekiel 38? Because Iran and Israel aren't fighting in the 50s. So see, if we had known it, if we are all incorrect and this is the correct way, then, and God had opened our understanding to understand the scriptures like the verse I quoted, then we would have all been going all these centuries. We would have gone, well, that's not that, and that's not that, and that hasn't happened yet. But like these earthquakes, how Jesus names these things, we're always looking at that. Earthquakes, famines, pestilence, war. I know earthquakes have increased. You can look at the charts and the statistics. They are off the charts, increasing. And they're getting worse and worse. Not only are they increasing, they are getting worse when they hit. Look at Venezuela. So all these centuries, we look for those things, but they were always dotted throughout the world. This is the first time all those things that Jesus has mentioned are worldwide. So see, it has all these centuries, it has kept us looking, and it's always looked like the end. And Jesus wanted it like that in every generation. There was always a worldwide or a something catastrophe to make it look like this could be it. But if we've been wrong all these years about mid, pre, and post, and it's all about these signs, the way I'm looking at it, the way Nathan had seen it, then it makes sense that God would open up our understanding to be the correct way if I'm right. And I agree with Nathan. It would make sense that he opens up our eyes of understanding the scriptures in the last days. But still, it doesn't mean we should stop watching because, oh, well, today Jerusalem isn't surrounded, so it's not going to be today. You know what I mean? So, or Jerusalem can't be surrounded because they're a fortress. They're an impenetrable fortress. There is no way they can be surrounded. They are on high alert, such and such. So it doesn't mean that we need to stop watching because that hasn't happened yet. Oh, not today. So he must not be going to split the mountain today. Maybe tomorrow Jerusalem will be surrounded and then we'll watch. The whole world is going to see. The whole world also is going to know that it is God. And I'm not kidding. If you read Zechariah, you read Joel, they repeat Revelation, they repeat Isaiah. Those are just the two books off the top of my head, but they are talking, but they skip around weird stuff and insert. They have different editions, they have different descriptions, they have other things. I'm just saying, some of the stuff matches up and lines up with each other. And of course, other people that remember the Bible as they've read it all their life, they'll find even more. We should have been doing this all this time anyway. But I'll link that video of it's not a Darby thing. The pre tribulation rapture is not a new thing. Okay? It's not. And I believe in that. Whether I believe that we're going to get raptured before the tribulation into heaven, or whether we're going to get raptured to that valley between the mountains, I don't care. I just know I'm going to be raptured before anything bad happens. And I'm sticking to that. Because that is the truth. It's in the truth. It's the truth in Zechariah 14. I just think that these things, like I was saying, how the Egyptians are all going to get burned off or whatever, and then there's going to be some rebellious ones obviously left, because if they don't come every year to the Feast of Tabernacles, they're not going to get any rain. So where does that fit in? That is not the millennium. In the millennium, it's the whole world is at peace. It's not, oh, Egypt is over there while they're in the valley, and Egypt isn't coming to the valley at the Feast of Tabernacles, so they're not going to get any rain. That doesn't fit in the millennium. Sorry, no go. And you can't make it fit. I dare you to try it. Because they're being bad boys and girls. They're not coming up year by year to the Feast of Tabernacles, so they're not going to get any rain. Okay? And it's probably because of the two witnesses. So I think this whole 7-year tribulation thing is a gradual chastening. Also, it's a tribulation. Also, it's a great tribulation. It's a bunch of stuff combined that our little finite minds have not figured out yet. But somehow, some way, Jesus is going to make it all work in a 7-year period of all those things. So simultaneously happening in different areas, because in Revelation it talks about a third of this, a quarter of that, a third of this, a third of this, a third of this, a quarter of that, a quarter of that, a quarter of that. The whole world is not going to be destroyed, bombarded, burned up, disintegrated. It's piece by piece by piece by piece. It's a third of everything. Bam. But there's still 2/3 of the earth is just fine and livable. And then there's a quarter of it more. It's going to happen, some stuff. Well, then it's a quarter less of the earth that is green and alive and people can still eat and whatever. All right. So unless you fit all those discrepancies in, I'm not going to believe it. And I don't know why anybody believes it when you can't explain those things and you just ignore them. Instead, you just focus on Daniel and Revelation. And then you think that's the be all et all explanation. But we've been doing that for centuries. Anyway, okay, I'm just going on 7 ways to Sunday, and it's now Sunday. So, well, God bless you guys, and yeah, I'm praying for you, and praying for everything and everybody. And like I have my list thing of how I do it. So, all right, well, bye.